beautiful. Thank you, Brother NASHID. Thank you. Appreciate you playing those beautiful hand drums. We welcome everyone to The Change Has Come. Dunbar lives. Thank you, NASHID. Give
You're
thanks.
welcome. Give thanks.
Thank you for joining us today. I am Ronald Carter, a poet, storyteller, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Love of Dunbar Collective 12th production of readings and performing the spoken words of iconic author and poet Paul Laurence Dunbar. Dunbar was born in Dayton, Ohio on June the 27th, 1872. He was a gift to his parents, Matilda and Joshua Dunbar, who gave him the biblical name of the Christian prophet Paul. Now, Dunbar grew up to become a prophet of poetry. In our collective opinion, Paul Laurence Dunbar is the father of the spoken word movement in America and deserves a Pulitzer Prize in literature, as it is one of our goals that he achieves this honor. At the age of 6, Paul was guided by a higher power as he listened closely to his parents' stories, wrote from his mind's eye, and recorded candid observances of nature, his family, friends, and yes, his community. Since his resting in peace 119 years ago, he has influenced many great writers of the Harlem Renaissance, such as Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, and many more. Dunbar's prolific pen has garnered income for many Dunbarians who muse, research, and perform from his 12 books of poetry, 4 novels, of short stories, numerous articles and lyrics for Broadway musicals. Now, in 1906, at the young age of 33, he died in his mother's arms. Leaving behind a rich catalog of his feelings, his questions, and his humor, timeless gifts of surreal hope, love, despair, triumphs, and regrets. Now, Paul's mother wanted him to become a preacher or even a lawyer, but also delighted when he earned a living from his poetry enough to put her into a beautiful 3-story home that today is a state government monument, museum to his prolific literary genius. During Paul's short time on earth, he often meditated on the meaning of life while suffering with tuberculosis and not a cure in sight. He also questioned the meaning of death and his purpose as a writer and poet. Now, today's program, The Change Has Come, Dunbar Lives, features a reader's theater format where you will be able to view the poems as we deliver them, so you can feel how deeply they touch our hearts, and hopefully they will also live in your hearts. Our theme covers an array of Dunbar spirituality, his visions of the afterlife, divine guidance, unfulfilled desires, and other dilemmas of our imperfect human nature. Let's go on a journey. The change has come as we together discover the depth of his poetry. Paul did indeed become a preacher of prose and an attorney of his own journey, but most of all, a poet of his people for his people. With that said, each artist will introduce themselves, the poem's topic, and deliver his poetry from their hearts to yours. Now, Join us. This reader's theater of change has come, for Dunbar lives.
Good afternoon. I'm Betty Haskins from Baltimore, Maryland. The poem I'm about to read is one of Paul Laurence Dunbar's classical pieces. Now, most people know Dunbar for his powerful dialect poetry, but he was classically trained and wrote in more traditional literary style as well. In this poem, you'll hear the name Helen. She is not a person, but rather Helen is a classical symbol for light, brightness, and better days. And as we all know, sometimes we find ourselves moving out of these bright seasons and into darker ones. That's what this piece reflects. The Change Has Come by Paul Laurence Dunbar. The change has come, and Helen sleeps, not sleeps, but wakes to greater deeps of wisdom, glory, truth, and light than ever blessed her seeking sight in this low, long, lethargic night, worn
Please
out with
turn the
strife.
page from the top.
Which men call life. The change has come, and who would say, I were it not come today? What were the respite till tomorrow? Postponement of a certain sorrow from which each passing day would borrow? Let grief be dumb. The change has come. Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Hello, my name is Carol Brown. I live in Puyallup, Washington, near Seattle. I am from Dayton, Ohio, where Paul Laurence Dunbar was also from. The picture behind me is actually a picture of a room in the Paul Laurence Dunbar house in Dayton, Ohio. I was blessed that my mother was a volunteer there, and so Paul Laurence Dunbar is very close to my heart. The poem that I'm going to read for you is a prayer, and this reflects on Paul's life. He was a brilliant poet, writer, but he didn't always get all the appreciation that he deserved. This was challenging for him. And then with his illness, as he suffered from knowing that he had no cure in sight, that added to his desire for God to hear his prayers and for divine intervention. So I will recite for you a prayer. Oh Lord, the hard-won miles have worn my stumbling feet. Oh, soothe me with thy smile and make my life complete. The thorns were thick and keen where I tremblingly trod. The way was long between my wounded feet and God. Where healing waters flow, do thou my footsteps lead. My heart is aching so, thy gracious balm I need. A prayer by Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Equipment. This is a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar. He talks to God. My name is Mama Nzinga. I greet you. Equipment by Paul Laurence Dunbar. With what thou gavest me, O Master, I have wrought such chances, such abilities, to see the end was not for my poor eyes. Thine was the impulse, thine the forming thought. Ah, I have wrought, and these sad hands have right to tell their story. It was no hard up striving after glory, catching and losing, gaining and failing, raging me back at the world's ruckus railing. Simply and humbly from stone and from wood, wrought I the things that to thee might seem good. If they are little, ah, God, what the cost? Who but thou knowest the all that is lost? If they are few, is the workmanship true? Try them and weigh me, wherever be my due. Equipment, Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Peace. My name is NASHID Furaha Ali. I'm from Philadelphia, PA. And I'm going to read a hymn by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Hymns, if you're a writer and you're a writer of books or poetry, hymns is in everybody's repertoire. And Paul Laurence Dunbar, I'm a storyteller, and the stories that he wrote and the stories that he told through his writings, they're beautiful. He worked at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., and as a part of that staff, he volunteered to read to blind folk who would come through so that they could hear people reading to them. And Paul Laurence Dunbar was one of those persons. So I just imagine that when Paul was reading, he looked out into his audience and said, wow, I have a gift. And although they can't see, they have a gift. He said, people that can see sometime need that light so that they can see. Now check this out with a hymn. I'll read it to you now. Lead gently, Lord, and slow. For oh, my steps are weak. And ever as I go, some soothing sentence speak, that I may turn my face through doubt's obscurity toward thine abiding place, even though I cannot see. For lo, the way is dark, and through the mist and cloud I grope, save for that final spark, that little flame of hope. Lead gently, Lord, and slow, for fear I may fall. I know not where to go unless I hear thy call. My fainting soul doth yearn for thy green hills afar. So let thy mercy burn, my greater guiding star.
Good afternoon. I'm Donna Marie KUCZYNSKI from Amherst, Ohio. I have the privilege to love, and it is a privilege to love the language of Paul Laurence Dunbar. I have the pleasure to share with you one of the pieces that I am particularly fond of. It's called The Light, and it is by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Once, when my soul was newly shriven, when perfect peace to me was given, pervading all and all with current bright, I saw shine forth a mighty light, and myriad lesser lights to this were joined, each one. Each light was every other light entwined, and as they shone, a sound assailed my ears, like the mighty music of the spheres. The greater light was love and peace and law, and it had power toward the rest to draw, though. It was the soul of souls. It was the greatest one, the life of lives, of suns, and floating through it all, my soul could see the Christ light shining for humanity. And silently I heard soft murmurs fall. Look up, earth child, the light is all. And so it was, and so it is. Paul Laurence Dunbar, The Light. And I thank you so much for allowing me to share with you.
Good afternoon. I'm ASHABI Rich from Norristown, Pennsylvania, and I live in Philadelphia, PA. I'm going to read Mare Rubrum by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Mare Rubrum is Latin for Red Sea, and it talks about here having faith in the higher being, however that is that you know that name. And Paul is talking about how being delivered from pressing danger is rooted in faith. And he feels some slight doubt as the danger presses down, and he sees no deliverance coming, likening it to the afflicted people, his people, here in America. And as the Pharaoh bears down upon them to slaughter and recapture them, he, Dunbar, sees no sign of a rescue being enacted to save them. It's a very precarious wherefore art thou moment. Where is the miracle? And when is it going to manifest? In life's Red Sea, with faith I plant my feet and wait the sound of that sustaining word, which long ago the men of Israel heard, when Pharaoh's host behind them, fierce and fleet, raged on, consuming with revengeful heat. Why are the barrier waters still unstirred? That struggling faith may die of hope deferred. Is God not sitting in his ancient seat? The billows swirl above my trembling limbs and almost chill my anxious heart to doubt and disbelief long conquered and defied. But though the music of my hopeful hymns is drowned by curses of the raging rout, no voice yet bids the opposing waves divide. Mare Rubrum by Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Good afternoon. My name is VIVECA Deans. Have you ever found yourself developing a negative perspective on undesired circumstances? And as you gave more thought to those circumstances, did they seem to become insurmountable? That's life. While facing those circumstances or a similar set of circumstances, have you found that love seems to put them in a positive light, proper perspective? That's also life. Enjoy Life by Paul Laurence Dunbar. A crust of bread and a corner to sleep in, a minute to smile and an hour to weep in, a pint of joy to a peck of trouble, and never a laugh but the moans come double. And that is life. A crust in a corner that love makes precious, with a smile to warm and tears to refresh us. And joy seems sweeter when cares come after, and a moan is the finest of foils for laughter. Just like that. That is life. That is life. That is life. Life by Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Hello, everyone. My name is Judy Bateman. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I will share the poem Beyond the Years by Paul Laurence Dunbar. In this poem, Paul explores the theme love, loss, and the passage of time. Beyond the Years by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Beyond the years, the answer lies. Beyond where brood the grieving skies and night droops tears. When faith rides chastened smiles to rise, and dark it feels, and carpent sorrow pines and dies, beyond the years. Beyond the years, the prayer for rest shall beat no more within the breast, and darkness cheers. And morn perched on the mountain's crest, her form uprears. The day that is to come is best, beyond the years. Beyond the years, the soul shall find the endless peace for which it pined. For light appears, and to the eyes that still were blind with blood and tears, their sight shall come, all confined, beyond the years. Beyond the years, by Paul Laurence Dunbar.
I'm Betty Haskins again. Back in Dunbar's time, folks was just a step out of slavery, facing racism, poverty, and the weight of trying to be free in a world that still wanted to hold them down. Today, it's not much different, but the struggle is still real. Politics dividing us, prices rising, folks tired and stretched thin, just sick and tired. Feels like a new kind of plantation sometimes. This poem is written in Southern dialect, and it reminds us that there is a voice, quiet, steady, that calls us back to what matters, love and truth and peace. If we can just slow down and listen, even in the storm, we might just find our way through. A Plantation Melody by Paul Laurence Dunbar. The trees is bending in the stone. The rain done hid its mountains foam. I was lone and in distress. But listen, there's a voice I hear saying loud and clear, lay low in the wilderness. The lightning flash, the boughs sway low. My poor sick heart is trembling so it hurts my very breast. But him that gave the lightning power just bids to me in the trying hour, lay low in the wilderness. Oh, brother, when the tempest beat and when your weary head and feet can't find no place to rest, just remember that the master's nigh. And pretty soon you'll hear the cry, lay low in the wilderness. Oh, sister, when the rain come down and all your hopes is about to drown, don't trust the master less. He's smiling when you think he frown. He ain't gonna let your soul sink down. Lay low in the wilderness. Plantation Melody by Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Hello again. And as you know, my name is Ronald Carter. I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but I am living here in Texas. It is indeed a pleasure and a privilege to be able to share with you Paul Laurence Dunbar's poem, Differences. Paul's poem, Differences, creates a comparison between the perspectives of two neighbors, one residing on the hill and the other down in the valley. There is criticism from each concerning the other. Through the differences of these two neighbors, Dunbar invites readers to reflect on the diverse ways in which people navigate through their lives with a lack of tolerance for each other. Now, the poem encourages us to move beyond appearances and judgments, recognizing that these two neighbors possess unique paths of fulfillment. By comparing the two neighbors' different lifestyles, the poem prompts us to question social norms, challenge preconceived notions, and celebrate the richness of human diversity, differences. My neighbor lives on the hill, and I in the valley dwell. My neighbor must look down on me. Must I look up? Ah, well, my neighbor lives on the hill, and I in the valley dwell. My neighbor reads and plays, and I I laugh, God, what? And sing like a bird when the grass is green in my small garden plot. But he reads and prays, and I I laugh, God, what? His face is a book of woe, and mine is a song of glee. A slave he is to the great, they say, but I am bold and free. No wonder he smacks of woe, and I have the tang of glee. My neighbor thinks me a fool. The same to yourself, say I. Why take your books and take your prayers? Give me the open sky. My neighbor thinks me a fool. Huh. The same to yourself, says I. Paul Laurence Dunbar, Differences.
The lawyers' ways. I've been listening to them lawyers in the courthouse up the street, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm most completely beat. First one fella rizzed to argue, and he boldly waded in as he dressed the trembling prisoner in a coat of deep-dyed sin. Why, he painted him all over in a hue of blackest crime, and he smeared his reputation with the thickest kind of grime. Till I found myself a wondering, in a misty way and dim, how the Lord had come to fashion such an awful man as him. Then the other day our lawyer started, and with brimming tearful eyes, said his client was a martyr that was brought to sacrifice. And he gave to that same prisoner every blessed human grace, till I saw the light of virtue fairly shining from his face. Then I own that I was puzzled how such things could rightly be. And this aggravating question seems to keep a puzzling me. So will someone please inform me, and this mystery unroll, how an angel and a devil can possess the self-same soul?
Carol Brown again, and I'm going to share the poem Paradox. Paul was very spiritual, and he liked to look at life and look at it from different angles. Is it all good? Is it all bad? Is the changing of the seasons a positive or a negative thing? So Paul does a great job of giving us some things to look at and think about as we talk about a paradox. by Paul Laurence Dunbar. I am the mother of sorrow. I am the ender of grief. I am the bud and the blossom. I am the late falling leaf. I am thy priest and thy poet. I am thy serf and thy king. I cure the tears of the heart sick. When I come near, they shall sing. White are my hands as the snowdrops. Swart are the fingers as clay. Dark is my frown at the midnight. Fair is my brow as the day. Battle and war are my minions, doing my will as divine. I am the calmer of passions. Peace is a nurturing of mine. Speak to me gently or curse me. Seek me or fly from my sight. I am thy food in the morning. Thou art my slave in the night. Down to the grave I will take thee, out from the noise of the strife. Then shalt thou see me and know me. Death, then, no longer, but life. Then shall I sing at my coming. Kiss me with a passionate breath. Clasp me and smile to have thought me aught save the foreman of death. Come to me, brother, when weary. Come when thy lonely heart swells. I'll guide thy footsteps and lead thee down where the dream woman dwells. Paradox.
This is ASHABI, Rich again. I'm going to read Mortality by Paul Laurence Dunbar. It seems that as Dunbar was contemplating and working with the life of severe illness and thinking of the impending end of his life due to it, he wanted to know and he wanted to believe in the reality and be comforted by the thought that his precious life as a soul would not cease with the death and decay of his body. He speaks here, I see, as to reincarnation, the belief that the soul lives many times, lifetimes, as it seeks to perfect its imperfections and be ready and worthy to dwell in the realm of the Creator, by whatever name your culture calls the Supreme. Mortality. Ashes to ashes, dust unto dust. What of his loving? What of his lust? What of his passion? What of his pain? What of his poverty? What of his pride? Earth, the great mother, has called him again. Deeply he sleeps, the world's verdict defied. Shall he be tried again? Shall he go free? Who shall the court convene? Where shall it be? No answer on the land, none from the sea. Only we know that as he did, we must. You with your theories, you with your trust, ashes to ashes, dust unto dust. Mortality by Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Theology is a poem written by Paul Laurence Dunbar, where he speaks to God again. My name is Mama Nzinga, and I am in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania right now. Theology by Paul Laurence Dunbar. There is a heaven forever, day by day. The upward longings of my soul doth tell me so. There is a hell, I'm quite sure, for prey. If not, where would my neighbors go? Paul Laurence Dunbar, Theology.
Hello, my name is Judy Bateman. This time I will read When All Is Done by Paul Laurence Dunbar. When All Is Done by Paul Laurence Dunbar. When all is done, and my last word is said, and ye who loved me murmur, he is dead. Let no one weep, for fear that I should know, and sorrow too, that ye should sorrow so. When all is done, and in the oozing clay, ye lay this cast off all of mine away. Pray not for me, for after long despair, the quiet of the grave will be a prayer. For I have suffered loss and grievous pain, the hurts of hatred and the world's disdain, and wounds so deep that love, well tried and pure, had not the power to ease them or to cure. When all is done, say not my day is o'er, and that through night I seek a dimmer shore. Say rather that my morn has just begun. I greet the dawn and not a setting sun. When all is done. Paul wrote this poem to redefine death, not as a tragic conclusion, but a getaway to a brighter, peaceful existence. When All Is Done by Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Hello, my name is VIVECA Deans. Paul Laurence Dunbar wrote about the experiences of our lives like the climatic seasons, changes of the four seasons, the calming rest of fall, the frigidity and harshness of winter, the renewal of spring, and the heat of summer. He wrote of the peaks and the plateaus and valleys of these experiences, resounding like a chorus in four-part harmony. Yet, he sang his song and all was well. Think of your getting through the seasons across the peaks, plateaus, and valleys song as you listen to the ensemble of Donna Marie, Mama Nzinga, Oni, and I presenting The Poet and His Song by Paul Laurence Dunbar. A song is but a little thing, and yet what joy it is to sing. In hours of toil, it gives me zest, and when at eve, I long for rest. When cows come home along the bars, and in the fold, I hear the bell. As night, the shepherd herds his stars. I sing my song, and all is well.
There are no ears to hear my lays, no lips to lift a word of praise, but still with faith unfaltering, I live, laugh, and love and sing. What matters yon unheeding throng? They cannot feel my spirit spill, since life is sweet and love is long.
I sing my song, and all is well.
My days are never days of ease. I till my ground and prune my trees. My ripened goal is all the plain. I put my sickle to the grain. I labor hard and toil and sweat, while others dream within the dell. But even while my brow is wet,
I sing my song, and all is well.
Sometimes the sun, unkindly hot, my garden makes a desert spot. Sometimes a blight upon the tree takes all my fruit away from me. And then with throes of bitter pain, rebellious passions rise and swell. But life is more than fruit or grain.
And so I sing, and all is well. The Poet and His Song by Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Ah, yes. Yes. Ah, yes. The chapter ends today. We even lay the book away. But oh, how sweet the moment sped before the final page was read. We tried to read between the lines, the author's deep concealed designs, but scant reward such search secures. You saw my heart and I saw yours. The master, he who penned the page and bade us read it, he is sage. And what he orders, you and I can but obey, nor question why. Listen, we read together and forgot the world about us. Time was not. Unheeded and unfelt, it fled. We read and hardly knew we read. But until beneath a sadder sun, we came to know the book was done. Then as our minds were but new lit, it dawned upon us what was writ. And we were startled. In our eyes looked forth the light of great surprise. And then As a deep tone, Tosin tolls, a voice spoke forth, behold your souls. I do, I do. I cannot look into your eyes, so close the book. What brought it grief or brought it bliss? No other page shall read like this. And that's the end of the chapter by Paul Laurence Dunbar.
It is now my honor to introduce Mama Nzinga, a cherished member of the Love of Dunbar Collective. As you know, our mission is to lift the genius of Paul Laurence Dunbar, his classical mastery, his dialect brilliance, and his enduring voice for our people. In that spirit, Mama Nzinga offers this original tribute to the poet who still speaks to our souls.
Beyond the elevator, sweet for Paul Laurence Dunbar, elevator boy in the Callahan building. I was so inspired to write this particular piece because the story is not over. It continues within all of us who continue to read and study his work on many levels. Beyond the elevator by Mama Nzinga. Pitching your dreams real high, a bright and shiny black star, catching fame at a glance. Just give me a chance to ride. Now the 2 doors open slowly on the first floor. Good evening. Going up? Sir, madam, I wanna buy my book of poetry. It's hot off the press. The air feels heavy but light. Throw a glass, wine, blood, and a kiss in the night. Remember the romance? You pull the doors open all the way with your heart hanging out there on the edge. Paul is a real genius, real light, bringing a timeless energy to tell stories through poetry, through songs, prose, even a sonnet. And we live on and on through his words, and we build and we get inspired and we study just to gain another step on the journey. I thank you so much. My name is Mama Nzinga. Have a good evening.
Now picture this, a shining star, a stage of modern gleam. The Pulitzer Prize, announced with care, fulfilling history's dream. A man steps forth, extends the prize to Dunbar's waiting soul. The world at last has cleared its eyes and made the poet whole. Let it be said, and said with pride, his pen outlived the wrongs. Pulitzer belongs beside the power of his songs. A change has come. Paul Laurence Dunbar.
I hope that you, our audience, have enjoyed this beautiful journey, this wonderful theater of voices that has brought Paul Laurence Dunbar's writings to life. Through these voices looking back on his moment in time and his legacy, we do realize that Dunbar gave us more than just poetry. He gave us a mirror to see the strength of our spirit. Yes, especially when tested. And for that, we are grateful. Beneath the beauty of his words lies a deep spiritual core, one that speaks to the pain, perseverance, and quiet hope of his people. I thank you for being with us here today, traveling this journey of Paul Laurence Dunbar's divine guidance into your hearts and souls.